He who. We saw Michael.
Do not. That's alright. Leave it in. Leave it in.
Connor, what is Michael about?
Michael follows the life of Michael Jackson from the time the Jackson 5 was pretty amateur, small, local act up to superstardom through Thriller and Bad, and mostly revolves around both his fame and how he used it, as well as stuff with his father Joseph and their kind of conflict in the way that Michael was marketed. Michael wanted to go off on his own, and Joseph wanted to keep the Jackson 5 train going long after it expired its use. That's pretty much it. So, Hayden, what did you think of Michael?
I think Michael's pretty okay. I mean, everyone's like kind of hating on it because it's not what they wanted it to be, which is, I guess, like, this movie doesn't even get to the part where he starts, allegedly doing things with kids. It ends in 1988. That's before all that stuff happened, but people are like, oh, it's really sanitizing his legacy by not bringing that up in the movie that ends in 1988. And apparently we're getting a fucking part 2 like Dune, where they stealth marketed it, the part 1 as a standalone. But
well, kind of like Dune, actually. I don't want to interrupt you too much, but like Dune, I was like, holy fuck, this is long. They're only on Bad right now? Are they going to like speed run the last little bit? That's what I was thinking at Dune. I was like, holy fuck, he just escaped. How are they getting the rest of Dune in here? I never read the book, but I saw the David Lynch movie, and I knew there was some shit they were missing.
Yeah. Well, apparently this is originally a 3.5 hour long movie that went to some points. I don't know what, but whatever they cut out is getting shoved at the start of the next one. So this will apparently continue, assuming it's not a mega flop, which I find highly unlikely. Jafar Jackson, one of Michael's nephews, plays Michael. I think he is very good in the role. Obviously no one can quite be Michael, but I think he has the look, the mannerisms. He's a very good dancer. It is a little uncanny that they just use like the mastered official releases of all the music, which is a thing biopics just do a lot of the time, so it kind of is what it is. There's nothing too interesting about it. Like, it's not like the juicy tell-all that people wanted it to be. It's not some weird shit like the monkey one with the British guy. It's a very straight, dry, this is a Michael Jackson biopic where you get to listen to Michael Jackson music, and his very talented nephew dances to the songs really well. And there's one really funny scene where his dad...
Did he lip sync the live performances too, or did they re-record those? Got it.
And there's one really funny scene where his dad and Don King sit in a supervillain lair and plan to burn Michael at the Pepsi show.
We're gonna make him do a Pepsi ad.
But beyond that, like, it's pretty much as straight as you could get. There's a few funny things here and there, like how his bodyguard slowly morphs into Louis C.K. throughout the movie. And perhaps the most bizarre decision is that his manager, who's like a schlubby middle-aged guy, is played by Miles Teller, who they put like a schlubby Snapchat filter on to make him look kind of like chubby and lumpy. And they also gave him long CGI hair. And he looks really freaky and weird. And the first scene he was in, I was like squinting at the screen. I was like, is that fucking Miles Teller? Why the fuck does he look like that? He looks like Miles Teller aged 30 years really badly. But it's just Miles Teller.
They also just had to awkwardly cut out Janet Jackson because she wanted nothing to do with the project.
Yeah, Janet is never mentioned.
Janet politely declined from doing it.
There's 6 Jackson kids. They never bring up Janet. They never mention
I'm pretty
her.
sure there's like fucking 13 of them actually.
Yeah, there's like...
I'm pretty sure they kept pumping them out so that
there's
they could
like
put
7
new ones in the Jacksons.
There's like 7 that people know.
Yeah, the 5 and then Janet, and there was a sister in the early days.
But yeah, Janet's absence is very strange because there's lots of like, especially in the early part of the movie, the Jackson 5 part, there's like scenes of the whole family on a road trip. And
do you think they're gonna do like a cinematic universe? Like they'll convince Janet to get in on it, and she'll get her own movie.
Jermaine's gonna get a movie.
I was thinking Randy, and it ends on him. He's like lowered up from the stage onto the American Idol set or whatever. He's judging American Idol.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a perfectly serviceable biopic. It's far from the worst one I've ever seen. I saw that fucking terrible Tupac one ages ago.
Yeah, I always think of All Eyes on Me as like the pinnacle. I'll say it's kind of like Straight Outta Compton, where it's like they very briefly touch on the controversies, if at all. It's very sanitized. Might not entirely be in order or accurate. I don't really know Michael Jackson's life in detail enough, but I know Straight Outta Compton is what we'd call a remix of true events. You know?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's perfectly watchable. Definitely gonna appeal to Michael Jackson fans a lot more than like if you just wandered into it. But it's not a bad time. I found myself enjoying it, and it's well made, well produced. Jafar Jackson is a very good Michael stand-in for what this movie needs, and also there's one scene with John Landis in it, which is funny because he killed a bunch of people.
I like the scene. I like the scene where, and they don't really they don't 100% explain this, and I don't know how true it is. But Michael was sitting there in the studio trying to write Thriller, and then he's like, "I need to call in the biggest favor ever." And then he goes into a warehouse where he's assembled a series of rival gangbangers.
No, that actually did happen.
That just seems like a fucking horrible idea.
No, it was a terrible idea, but also he was Michael Jackson. He was just the man with the power to do that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Do you think he's like, you guys don't get paid if you start shooting each other? I mean, presumably that's a breach of contract.
I would assume that Michael Jackson's extensive security force had the whole place secured and made sure no one seemed too weird or cracked out.
Yeah.
Before Michael arrived.
And whatever.
Yeah, it is exactly what it advertises itself to be. Connor, what'd you think of Michael? Part 1, Michael.
I liked Michael Part 1. It is definitely, there's some unique ones that work to various degrees. I know, like, I had a similar thing with Rocket Man, where Rocket Man was really cheesy. It did want to address Elton John's, like, really bullshitty, or, like, bad stuff that Elton John did. Negative and just the alcoholism and whatnot, which isn't here. But sometimes even the corniest cornball shit ever movie like these is fine with me, as long as they're just running the greatest hits in the background, basically, which is what this movie essentially was.
Yep.
It was like that, they weren't playing the B tracks. It was all the hits from Thriller and Bad and Off the Wall and his Jackson 5 stuff. You want to hear ABC and I Want You Back and Thriller and Human Nature and all that. Like, you're gonna want to be starting something. You're gonna get the hits.
Yep.
And I don't know. I've enjoyed Michael Jackson since I was a small child. So, I know all of these songs.
All those nights.
Michael Jackson enjoyed me since I was a small...
Allegedly.
Allegedly, Michael Jackson allegedly enjoyed me since I was a small child. No, I like Michael Jackson music. So, I mean, Jafar did a good job, like, doing the dances, and there were some crazy stories they showed. Obviously, they're, like, Joseph's cartoon supervillain here, which is, I mean, based
Pretty
on
much.
the sound of it, it sounds like it was basically true in real life too. So I will be fair on that point, but you know, it was like there wasn't too much conflict in it. It was very much like, you know, and it also jumped pretty heavily. It would be like Michael made Thriller, and he does the music video, and then it cuts ahead a year to when he's recording Bad. You know, it's the hits. They're talking about important. It's a timeline of events. It doesn't dwell too much. There's obviously like the overarching conflict with Joseph and stuff, and there's probably some stuff they could have done more in depth, but I thought overall it was pretty solid. I also like that, you know, Michael's whole a lot of Michael's family, not Janet, not Paris Jackson, because she's suing like the guy who Miles Teller played to get more money, to milk more money off of the estate, I guess. But like his sons and all the I'm pretty sure the other, I think there might be one other main Jackson 5 member who's dead, but by and large most of the people are still alive. So the fact it wasn't like, I know in like the Queen biopic, like the guitar and drummer guy, like obviously everyone wanted to hear about what Freddie Mercury was up to. But they're like, no, you also have to have scenes about me, like learning to play the drums. You know, there wasn't really any of that. It was very much like the story of Michael. And I know there was even kind of that aspect in like Straight Outta Compton and stuff, where like Ice Cube and Dr. Dre were the producers, so they were the important ones in the movie. MC Ren didn't have that type of clout, and DJ Yellow was like cracked out watching porn or something, so he didn't have that either. But I mean, it's just kind of the thing with musical biopics is the egos come in. So I mean, I appreciated that it was a total ego piece for Michael, who's been dead for 18 years or whatever now. It didn't feel too much like other entities, which is also probably something that I think was kind of benefited by the fact that they pretended Janet didn't exist in this movie, because I feel like you kind of have to insert her story. It'd be kind of weird in the background to be like, wow, Janet is getting her own number ones. It's also very famous. Not to say they couldn't have done something like that, but it helps the plot not get watered down with the achievements of everyone else, because everyone else is background characters to Michael. It's just the fact of the matter in terms of this story.
And reality.
And reality, frankly. I mean, even Janet's a background character to Michael, and she's still very famous as well and has a lot of hit songs and stuff.
Yeah.
Not to say that the other family members weren't important, but sometimes in these musical biopics you kind of take the focus off of what is the most interesting aspect of the movie. Not to say Jermaine didn't have an effect on Michael's career coming up or something, or Janet or whatever, but they don't need to be super central in the story beyond like the Jackson 5 era. And
I mean, Michael's mom is pretty much the only other important character in the entire story.
Well, then there's Billy, the bodyguard, and
yeah, but Billy has like one emotional speech with him, and like Billy's always there, but he's literally just standing in the background behind Michael.
Yeah, that's true. The mom's the one who has his back. Joseph's the supervillain, and Michael cycles through a variety of characters that come past him in his history.
Yeah.
I would probably be interested in watching a part 2, because I think this movie is very much like the legend of Michael Jackson, and I think there was still a lot of legendary things Michael Jackson did after Bad. Not to say there wasn't like good songs and like important moments and stuff, but what might be interesting about the sequel is you do have more things like Oprah Winfrey bullying him and people trying to accuse him of being a kitty diddler, and you know, on top of just meeting. Well, honestly though, like in the 90s is when he starts going really crazy. He starts hanging out with like Macaulay Culkin. Could we get some kid to play Macaulay Culkin, produced by Macaulay? Can Macaulay cameo as Macaulay's dad?
Yeah, it's gonna be part 2 is gonna be interesting. The movie ends with a his legend will continue, which is bold.
Can we get a scene where he flees 9/11 with Marlon Brando?
Oh my God!
Fucking
please.
I fucking beg you. I'm begging the
They have to get the man himself to play Marlon, though.
It's 9/10.
Marlon's
and George Bush
reincarnation.
calls him and says, "You better get a car ready. You better get your Maybach ready and meet Marlon.
I know the perfect man to play Marlon.
Meet Marlon Brando. Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy
in a fat suit.
Tom Hardy in a fat suit.
Tom
He's eating
Hardy.
pills of sherbet. Well,
he's ripping his little vape.
Yeah, I think that even though it's not historically accurate, I think Tom Hardy should be able to hit his vape there. And I think they should add Bubbles the monkey for dramatic effect. It's Bubbles, Marlon. Who else? There's
like
Tippi Hedren or some Hepburn or some shit.
Oh God. I'm gonna look it up. Hi, buddy. I love you.
If they did, because originally there was going to be a dramatic adaptation of it, but they didn't know how to handle White Michael, so they hired a Caucasian actor, and they got in trouble. So it never came to air.
It was Elizabeth Taylor.
Elizabeth Taylor. Yep, Elizabeth Taylor, Michael Jackson, and Marlon Brando are in a car on 9/11, fleeing New York because they think the world is going to start raining down. And honestly, I mean, how could you not put that in Michael too? I don't know how it would fit in this fucking biopic the way it is. Like, it's like September 11th and Michael's like, wow, this is a beautiful morning, Elizabeth Taylor and Marlon Brando. Oh my God, what happened there? It must have just been an accident.
If this turns into a cinematic universe, we need Tom Hardy to star in the Marlon Brando biopic. And then you can just reuse the scenes from Michael for that moment in the Marlon biopic.
No, it should be taken from an entirely different perspective. There will be a point where he says, I just gotta run inside quick, then we can start fleeing, and then he goes into his house, but his wife put a chain on the sherbet fridge.
He has to chew through it, and he waddles out with 2 pails of sherbet and a pile of chili
before
dogs.
my wife wakes up. Yeah. No, I mean, you can't, I mean, that's just, I mean, what's more legendary? God rest the souls of all 3 of those beautiful people.
God rest.
God took 3 angels. Not that day. They successfully fled 9/11. I don't know if they were in real imminent danger, being that they weren't in the World Trade Center, but they did flee 9/11, and they all survived for I'm pretty sure Marlon Brando died like a year after that 9/11, but yeah. Michael had another like 8 years in him. I don't know when Elizabeth Taylor died, but I'm like 90% sure she just died.
At least Elizabeth Taylor is memorialized in like 500 nonsense lines in Gex 2.
Let's see when Elizabeth Taylor died. I know she died.
Like half of Gex's random quips in Gex 2.
2011. So Elizabeth Taylor lived the longest. Yep. 2011. Michael Jackson passed away in 2009. And then Marlon Brando, he died first in 2004.
He had a couple good years after.
So Elizabeth Taylor's the only one who survived the decade, but they all did flee together from 9/11. What an oddball cast. What a cast of characters. I think that could just honestly be its own movie. I think that should be Michael.
They tried to make that. They should have.
No, it's like a TV compilation. But I'm saying you could do, Michael 2 ends in 2000, and Michael's like, it'll say the story continues, and then the third movie just starts cold open. It's a calm day on the airplane.
No. Michael 2 ends September 11th. No day, no year needed. The plane hits the tower. We see a silver-gloved hand pick up a phone. Marlon, Liz, we have to go.
Well, then I think that's the after the credit scene. But I think part 3 starts. It goes Michael, and then like 3 golden one. What if it was What if it was okay? So it's Michael. Maybe they just do it for Michael too, because then you can do something fitting where the two ones come down and then they turn into the silhouette of the towers. So maybe you skip ahead and you do that for Michael 2, and then for Michael 3 you can go back to 1988 and continue from where it was. I think I think from a titling standpoint, from an iconography standpoint, that makes the most sense. Though technically, I would think it would be Michael 3 based on.
Well, you could have it be the Stinger 2, where it's like Michael 2. And then it comes in as towers. It comes into the Stinger,
or maybe an airplane hits the 2 and it explodes. Yeah, I don't know, man. There's options. There's certainly options.
Call me.
Well, it's like a Lionsgate Universal co-production, which I thought was strange, but I'm guessing Universal must own Michael's catalog or something. It's like, you guys pay for the movie. We'll collect a ginormous fat bag off of the songs.
Yeah. I'd imagine that's more or less how it went down.
Probably.
I think that X under UMG. I would imagine so.
I would be shocked if somehow. But yeah, no, I thought it was I thought it was a pretty decent film. And if they want to do a second one with the later era, I mean, we're literally flipping to disc 2 for the Essentials Michael Jackson, I want to point out. Because disc 1 is literally like Jackson 5 to 1988.
Yeah. And
then you flip over to disc 2, which is the later era Michael solo work. If we're looking at the 2012 Essentials Michael Jackson they put out. Which is a pretty good compilation. If you want the best Michael Jackson stuff. I think if you get the deluxe 3-disc version, it might add some stuff that I think is a little unnecessary for a best of compilation. But I also like how that specific one has, I think, like fucking... I think it might be missing one song off of Thriller, but for the most part they just threw that whole fucking album in there. They might have put the whole album in the Essentials.
Yeah.
Might as well be called Thriller Super Deluxe.
Yeah, well.
And then when the people who were making that were deciding the songs, like, we simply just can't cut anything from Thriller. Fair enough.
I mean, true.
Good album. So, Aiden, would you recommend Michael?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't like it because it doesn't address a bunch of things that wouldn't make sense for it to address. It is a perfectly serviceable musical biopic. I guess if you're not a fan of Michael Jackson, then I don't know why you would even consider fucking watching it, but it's probably not made for you in that case. But for most people, yeah, it does the thing it needs to do pretty well. Connor, would you recommend Michael?
If you're a fan of Michael Jackson and you want to get the loose, pretty, mostly whimsical, a little bit cheesy. Joseph's a comic book supervillain and played that way. But if you want like kind of a loose plot with the greatest hits mashed on top, yeah, it's fun. I thought it was. I had a good time with it. I like Michael Jackson music. I think that's a big deciding factor. If you're not a fan of Michael Jackson's music and you aren't interested in listening to his music, or it's just. I mean, it's not like some super deep exploration of Michael Jackson's life. It's a high quality. Like
how can we make
Michael
Jackson's entire discography chart again?
And the thing too is like it's really not designed to be some sort of expose of anybody but Joseph. But he's the villain. But really, it's just like here are some interesting facts about Michael Jackson making X thing or doing X thing.
Here's some silly music in the background. Animals.
Yeah, it's not trying to. It's not trying to do some sort of deep psychological dive on why Michael Jackson was the way he was, or
it's not better, man.
Yeah, It's fine. I like the music, so I had a good time. And if you like Michael Jackson, probably have a good time. I'm sure if you take your parents who were young in the 80s, there's probably a pretty good chance that they like it. Or if you were young in the 80s, I know there's a couple people that watch us that are older. Not many, but some of you guys.
A couple.
And you guys probably like it. I don't know.